This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.
All righty, there he is, the man, the myth, the legend that is Dan Leberfeld and Jets Whispers. How are you doing, my friend?
Doing well. A lot of traffic getting here today, Orlando. A lot of Dolphins fans in the house.
That's right. It's the MetLife Takeover, baby. Hashtag MetLife Takeover. Come on, what's wrong with you? That's what
I missed that
happened.
one, but it's happening.
This is our second home there over in New York. You don't know anything about the MetLife Takeover for real?
No, but it's a thing, and I'm telling you, when I came in for the Cincinnati game, I live in New Jersey, and I drove in. It was straight to the parking lot. Today, I was out on Route 3 for like an hour trying to get through the security and everything. So there's definitely a MetLife takeover going on.
Well, go on Twitter and hit hashtag MetLife Takeover, and it's 1,400 Dolphin. It's more than 1,400, but the packages were sold for 1,400 there in the stadium, and then there's more fans that are coming over, and they all meet at Slattery's over in Manhattan, over in the city, and they were there last night hanging out, and so they all do this every year. And it's something that I want to actually take our show on the road over there and have some fun and broadcast with them. But it's actually a cool thing that's developed for Dolphin fans every year for that Jet game. It's called the MetLife Takeover. And, dude, it's well over 1,500 fans. The package is only for 14, but well over 1,500 fans, sometimes 2,000, are tailgating together in a section there in the parking lot. So, I don't know.
I also think there's a lot of along with that package.
Yes.
There's a lot of Dolphin fans who live here. You know that,
Yes. No, we have a lot of listeners from the Northeast, a ton that listen to the show. So yeah, there's no doubt, or watch the show, because now you can actually watch and listen at the same time. All right, so let's get into it, my brother. First of all, the matchup with Sauce and Tyreek. How much you looking forward to that?
I personally don't think it's a good idea because here's why. Sauce Gardner is a very good prospect, and we've seen the first few games covering tight ends like Andrews of Baltimore. He was really good. And then last week covering those tall receivers for the Steelers, very good. But a 5'8" guy with world-class speed who can cut on a dime, not usually the best matchup for a 6'3" long-legged corner who needs to gather to change directions. Now, he's got pretty loose hips, don't get me wrong. I don't know if I'd go there. I'd put Sauce Gardner on Jalen Waddle and double Tyreek Hill.
Okay. Well, by the way, you're watching the inactives there, and Xavier Howard is on there. Tua Tagovailoa, Erica Zukama, Xavier Howard, Salvon Ahmed, Hunter Long, and Trey Flowers are the inactives announced for this game. So no X-Men, and it's going to be a very young secondary back there taking on Zach and the boys. What do you think about that now?
That's a huge bit of news right there, Big O, because when you look at the Jets, one thing they definitely have are a lot of weapons in the passing game. Garrett Wilson is just as advertised coming out of Ohio State, dynamic playmaker. He's been very good right out of the gate. And then you look at South Florida's Elijah Moore at Ole Miss. He's been good. Corey Davis having a good season. Breece Hall out of the backfield is a very good receiver. And keep an eye on Tyler Conklin, the tight end they signed from the Vikings. Because of all the attention the other guys get, he's consistently getting wide open, sneaking off the line, catching 10, 15-yard passes. So that's Xavier Howard news, along with the fact that Byron Jones is on injured reserve. That's not the best news for the Dolphins in terms of having all hands on deck to deal with these Jets weapons.
No, I'm with you too, man. I mean, that one's going to be interesting. That's why I'm kind of expecting the Dolphins to bring the house, right?
Yeah.
I think that's what I'm expecting, that the Dolphins are going to bring the house and attack Zach and force him into quick decisions and maybe force him into quick mistakes too at the same time.
Yeah, I see that too. And the offensive tackle situation for the Jets, it's kind of in a state of flux. Dwayne Brown's a very good player, but he hasn't played a game this year, and he's 37. He missed the first month with a shoulder injury, so he gets plugged in at left tackle. Max Mitchell, the rookie who was starting right tackle, he got hurt. I have to be honest with you, I'm not 100% sure who's starting over there. It could be Connor McDermott. It could be Mike Remmers is on the team now. I mean, you know him. He's been on half the league. So I'm not sure who the right tackle is. If I looked at the pregame, I could probably tell, but I haven't been out there yet. So 2 offensive tackles who could be a little rusty, and the Dolphins could bring it off the edge and also blitz. Zach Wilson generally is a first-read quarterback. And if it's not there, his brain starts racing. So if they can get to him quickly and speed up the process, that could help the Dolphins' situation in the secondary.
All right. So when we look at Zach, tell me why you're a believer, because I'm still not a believer. I believe in his physical talents, but we have this thing in our business and I'm going to say in football overall, because it happens with the media and happens with fans. I think we get trapped into mixing talent with being a good quarterback. An example, Justin Herbert's a guy that, physically he's beautiful. I mean, he's perfect. I have yet to see the guy that shows me the moxie in key moments and gets his team over the top and elevates them and all that kind of stuff. I see a guy that sometimes falls short in tight moments. You know what I mean? And so for me, as a quarterback, I got to see that you're a guy that can read defenses, react, and can play in the clutch and can really elevate people around you. So tell me why I should believe in Zach.
Well, I'm not sure I'm there yet, so I don't know if I'm the guy to convince you. The fourth quarter was excellent for Zach Wilson last week. The first 3 were pedestrian. The problem he has, to me, one of the biggest problems is completion percentage. Even in that Steeler game where he did such magical things in the fourth quarter, he finished with a 50% completion percentage. Big O, you've been covering this league a long time. It's hard to win in the league. Last year, he was at 55% for the season. This year, his one start, 50%. A quarterback who played in the league put it simply to me. It's very hard to put together long drives when every other pass is hitting the ground. So he's got to increase that completion percentage. Also, sometimes he throws fastballs on short passes. You might have seen the interception. You probably did. Minka Fitzpatrick, the pick where he took it into the red zone. It looked like he scored, but then they moved it out to the 4 because he stepped out of bounds. He threw a rocket to Conklin on a short route, bounced off his hand, and it was intercepted. Now, people are so quick on these metric sites, the analytics sites, to say drops, right? Well, if a guy throws a short pass high and too hard, is that a drop? What do you think?
No, that's on the quarterback. Ball placement and all that. Is that what you're saying?
So he's got it. Yeah. His arm talent is rare. Zach Wilson has rare arm talent, and he can throw from all kinds of different platforms. That's great. His escapability in the pocket is outstanding. One of the issues when Flacco was starting was, at his age, a little bit of a statue back there. So if they gave up pressure, he couldn't create extra time. This guy, as you'll see today, Big O, is magical creating extra time. So rare arm talent, really good escapability, but it's got to improve his ability to go through his progressions, and also should take some speed off the fastball on short passes.
Well, young quarterback that doesn't really understand everything yet. Does he have touch? Have you seen enough that, because I've seen the arm talent, but does he have touch and anticipatory type skills?
Anticipatory, not seeing a lot of that yet, but touch, that you'll see it at times. I'll give you an example. There was a pass on a key drive at the end to Corey Davis where he threw it a little behind him, but it was the perfect spot because he would have been lit up by a defender right in front of him. So to me, that was perfect ball placement and perfect touch. It seems to me like he's got more touch on the intermediate to long passes than the short ones. The problem is the short ones where he puts too much mustard on him. But I've seen some good touch time. The anticipation, he needs some work there.
All right. So one of the things, since I'm expecting the Dolphins to attack them, another reason why I'm expecting them to attack them, it's because the Jets have had all kinds of issues on the offensive line. Vera Tucker, is he going to play This week, will he impress everybody by playing two positions at the same time? And someone told me he's also assistant coach for this game. So walk us through all the issues with the offensive line and the fact that Vera Tucker can play all the positions in the world.
Well, you mentioned Vera Tucker, and my mind took me to a place about the job Joe Douglas is doing as the GM, because I brought up Breece Hall before, brought up Garrett Wilson, brought up Elijah Moore. They have a GM who kind of knows what he's doing. We'll see if it comes together and leads to a successful season or two or three. But those kind of players, clearly the guy has an eye for talent. Vera Tucker is – what he did last week was amazing. Not only moving from guard to left tackle, playing fairly well. Big O, you know, and your audience knows.
He gave up no sacks. He gave up no sacks, no hurries or anything.
Yeah, the switching of sides, it sounds easy on paper. Oh, just play right guard and then go to left tackle. That's not easy. The hand placement, the foot placement, the footwork, it's all reversed. So for him to do what he did, and let's not forget, after his rookie year, he played left guard last year. They signed Laken Tomlinson, who's only played left guard. So he goes, I'll move to right guard. So he went as a rookie at left guard to a right guard this year. And then in that game, he moves to left tackle. Really hard to do that. You got to tip your hat to the guy.
All right. So what's the mess on the offensive line right now? Because that's why I think the Dolphins are going to take advantage of the Jets today. I think they're going to abuse Zach and they're going to get after him because of the line. So how healthy are they, or how discombobulated are they?
Yeah, I think the interior is pretty good. When you look at Laken Tomlinson and Vera Tucker at guard and the veteran McGovern at center. And Dwayne Brown has been a good player. We talked about him a little before, but who knows how rusty he will be in his first start coming off a preseason shoulder injury. Not only his first start of the season, his first start for the Jets, his first start with this line. Right tackle, I wish I was looking out of the field because I can give you an answer, but somebody new is going to be there because Max Mitchell is hurt. But you know what? The injury to Max Mitchell is bad for the kid, but he had a rough game in Pittsburgh, and he was kind of rushed into action because of injuries. Very raw coming out of Louisiana Lafayette. He probably needed a redshirt year, so it's not good that he got hurt, but I don't know if it's a huge loss. So I'd look at those tackles. What do you think of the Dolphins coming off the edge this year?
No, I like them, you know, and I've Agba and Phillips and, you know, Ingram has helped out a lot. Zach Sealer helps out from inside. Andrew Van Ginkel. They have guys that can get after it. They haven't done a good job overall, and that's why I'm thinking that today might be a little bit of the panacea for your struggles because of some of the struggles for the Jets also on the line, since they've got to move guys around. And so that's why I'm looking at going, maybe one of these guys will have an opportunity to, and you've got to do it anyways. In this game, you've got a bunch of young corners back there. There's no X-Men, no Byron Jones. Needham's going to be playing on the outside. I kind of like him as a slot more than an outside guy. So Corey Davis and Garrett Wilson and Elijah Moore and those guys, they've already played well as it is. They're going to have opportunities, but you can't give Zach time. That's what you want with a young quarterback. You want to confuse him quickly. That's how you force him into mistakes.
Yeah, to me, the key to the game, Phillips and Agba and the guys that rotate with him and what they do, because Zach Wilson, another thing he does, and as we've mentioned throughout this interview, incredible arm talent, but he'll, instead of throwing with anticipation a lot, he'll wait for a Corey Davis or a Garrett Wilson to streak across the middle, you know, maybe 3 or 4 seconds into the play where he cuts wide open. So if the Dolphins can cut down that clock by getting to him quick, those kind of guys flashing over the middle 15-yard crossing routes might not have time to develop.
So let me ask you something. Now that you mentioned the 4-second deal, what do you what's your impression on all this Tua silliness that's gone on, investigation and everything?
Well, I said yesterday on the Sirius XM show, I think that McDaniel's taking too much heat. It's not like he's doing this in a vacuum. I mean, he's got doctors and trainers, league advisors, neurologists in the press box. I think the coach is taking way too much heat. And you know what? What bothers me about what happens when this kind of thing happens, and hopefully Tua is good and heals and he feels good, is that people who hate football will now jump in and try to take the sport down a notch. These are people that don't like football. So they use these opportunities to say, look at that. Like the concussion doctor, Bennett, who made the news that Tua shouldn't play anymore.
Yeah, that moron. Yeah.
Well, let me say that. If you're going to say that, you should also say people shouldn't go bike riding anymore. A lot of people in South Florida go on their bikes.
Listen, let's stop telling firemen to go into burning buildings.
Yeah.
Let's stop giving a 20-year-old a gun and say, go defend our country. Let's tell race car drivers they can't go 225 miles an hour round and round. Let's stop telling the wrestler that he shouldn't dive from 25 feet in the air onto another guy. The world is full of a ton of jobs that your health and your life are at risk constantly. Go tell the miner that's got to breathe all that shit down in the mine for years, and that's going to affect his breathing, his lungs, and everything, but he's got to earn a living. Tell him not to go do that. So tell that doctor to stick it where the sun don't shine. Look, I'm one of the few here, Dan. What happened on Thursday had nothing to do with Sunday. Everybody's different. Ethan Carter just got put on the IR. He's been gone for 4 weeks with a concussion. Another guy gets concussed and is fine the next day. Everybody's different. Tua was fine on that Sunday. Whatever happened, whether it was the back, the head, whatever, the second half, the guy played lights out and threw the kill shot. On Thursday night, he was playing lights out. He was playing just fine. Do you know what his problem is? We did it on the show here because we do a little homework here. When he blew out his first ankle, 3.89 seconds. When he blew out his second ankle, 4.55 seconds. When he blew out his hip, 5 seconds. When he got slammed on Thursday night, 5 seconds. Do you know what Tua's problem is? He's hanging on to the goddamn football. Has nothing to do with the concussions. All the pain and injury that comes from his life comes from holding on to the football, playing hero ball because he wants to try to make a play. In week 1 against the Patriots this year, he almost turned over the ball or got injured 2 or 3 times because he hung on to the ball too long, and he doesn't get rid of the football. That's the real problem. If we're going to talk football and we're going to talk about what's really going on, it has zero to do with the concussions because he happens to be one of those guys that recovers quickly. Obviously, he recovers quickly because everything is clean, all his MRIs, everything. Tua could probably play today if he really wanted to. You know what I mean? Because that's how it is. How many concussions do you think Zonka suffered or delivered? Okay, so we got to stop with this shit, dude. There are a ton of jobs. Are we going to tell the surfer not to take on that 70-foot wave? Because you know what happens when he crashes into the floor with that wave. He could die right there on that spot. There's a ton of jobs where you're putting your life and health at risk. Let's stop overreacting here.
How about construction? And you guys have so many great construction workers in South Florida, so many projects always going on. That project in the middle of the Vegas Strip City Center where Aria and Vidara is, the MGM property. If I'm not mistaken, there were 7 or 8 construction workers who died during that project, tragically. Legion Stadium right down the road, there was a construction worker killed. So once again, there's a lot of very dangerous lines of work. And the NFL, Big O, you've been covering the league a long time, as have I. I don't know if you go back to the smelling salts age, but they used to recklessly give guys smelling salts in the 80s and send them back into the game with a concussion. So we've certainly come a long way since then.
Yeah, I'm with you there. The Jets have lost 12 straight inside the division. What's the prediction today, Dan? What happens today? Miami is favored by 3.5 on the road with Teddy Two Gloves. That's not a lot of respect for the Jets.
Right. I'm going with the Dolphins. I'll tell you why. First of all, the extra time to prepare. And Mike McDaniel's already shown as a head coach that he's a really good game planner. And let's not forget, when you look at this Jets offense and defense, McDaniel knows these systems very well. It's the 49ers defense and the 49ers offense. And he was there forever. He had extra time to prepare. And I think that'll help him come up with a great plan for Teddy Bridgewater. The thing about this Jets defense is they have a lot of talent, but they give up a lot of explosives. There's just a lot of times where they're playing well and all of a sudden, boom, some guy flashes open on a post for 35 yards. So I think that they'll get their explosives today. Now that you showed the inactive list, obviously Tyreek Hill and Waddle are active. I know they were questionable. So I think that they'll get some explosives. We'll have a good game plan for Teddy Bridgewater. And as long as they get pressure on Zach, I don't think he'll be able to have a game where he just rips them apart with all those weapons that we mentioned. So I think it'll be a close game, but I'm going with the Dolphins. Until the Jets clamp down on all these explosives they give up, I can't pick them with a lot of conviction in games. They have a lot of talent, but it's one thing to have a talented roster. It's another thing to have a talented team. They've got to prove they have a talented team that plays cohesively and smart for 60 minutes. So I'm going with the Dolphins.
There you go. All right. Follow him on Twitter, by the way, at Jets Whispers. And for you stinking Jets fans out there, you can sign up for Jets Confidential, man. You can get all the insight. My man's been. What year is this for you covering the Jets? Like what? 20 what?
25.
25.
Yeah.
Man,
we've always had a lot of subscribers in South Florida. You know about all those Jet fans. You see them in the coffee shop.
We're the sixth borough, dude. You know that.
Yeah,
we're the sixth borough. That's why you're.
That's why. That's why when the light turns.
Here, right? You got a bunch of family down here, don't you?
Yeah, I used to. Actually, my sister's now in Key Largo, but my parents aren't there anymore. They, as you get older, you can't do the back and forth as much. They're fine, but they just stay up here. But the reason, one sign that there's a lot of New Yorkers in your state, the second the light turns green.
Amen to that. Amen to that. Dan, appreciate the game, my brother, and thank you for taking some time, as always, to join our platform. We really appreciate it, man.
Anytime, Big O. Enjoy the game today.
You got it. There you go. Dan Leberfeld, baby, on the EJDconstruction.com Miami Dolphins pregame show.
This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.